Hey folks, welcome to a spooktacular video for the month of Halloween. I love doing kind of spooky art for Halloween for everybody, and I usually like to use this cool program called Alchemy. I did a little study in it for you guys, except I didn't use Alchemy this time. You know why? Because I can't use Alchemy anymore. It doesn't run on the new Mac systems, and it was so rad. Look at all this cool stuff I could do with it. It was a limited program, but you could actually build up stuff really fast and efficiently. I did all of these heads with this actually, and you can actually link to this and check this out below. To see how I built all those heads. But hey, good news, like a zombie being resurrected, you can still use Alchemy, but it's right on a website called Webcme, and it's basically Alchemy, but a slightly watered down version. So I'm going to take you guys through it. This is how easy it is. I'm on the website. That's it. This isn't even on my computer. I'm clicking on the shape tool, which it's automatically set to, and I'm just going to walk you through some of the things that happen in this, and then we'll do the bigger demo in a second. You could fast forward ahead if you want, but pretty self-explanatory. This is a shape tool, so it's almost as if you're making a lasso tool shape and it's automatically filling with whatever color is selected. And you can see up on that circle on the left that the black is selected. How fun is this for doing silhouette work? Look at that little profile really quick. This part of the video is done in real time, so you can just see how fast you can kind of move through different ideas and check things out. So another option you can do with this is you can, of course, well, you can undo stuff, which is actually new. Old Alchemy you couldn't undo, which actually I think was better because you had to make decisions, but you can undo with this. But also you could just clear it off real quick. Boom. So I can show you the next technique. Now the next technique is using a line tool. So it's pretty much the same, but you click on this little square next to it, and suddenly what you're going to get is a line instead of a fill. Same sort of principle, but if you had done that with the fill, those shapes would have filled automatically as you were going along. This is not a highly accurate tool. It's almost like drawing with a Sharpie, so keep that in mind. That's the beauty of this program to me, is that it makes you kind of simplify and really think about what you're doing because you don't have a million options. Well, you'll see. We get into some options in a second, but anyway, it's not as controlled and there's no pressure sensitivity, which is something to keep in mind as well. It's like that Sharpie. That's kind of the way I think of that anyway. So we're going to kill that, I think. Let's see what we do. Yes, we're going to clear it. Boom. And now we're going to try another thing to show you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get back on the shape, so it's going to automatically fill. And then we're going to go with opacity. Now, you know opacity if you use computers. So the cool thing about that and using the shape fill tool is that you can make a shape, and because it's set to a opacity that's lighter, it's like a multiply in Photoshop. The more shapes you make, again, this is real time, the more shapes you make on top of it, the darker it's going to get as they continue to overlap. There's no layers in this. This is all happening on one layer. But you can see that how fun you can kind of build up. If you have like 3 values, you can build up a face real quick and have a good time with it. So that's another kind of fun feature. So a lot of the design work I'll do will be done in this mode, and I'll vary it. Sometimes it'll be like 5% opacity. Sometimes it'll be 75%. So we're going to go ahead and wipe that off. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you dun, 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 that little jam right there, which is mirror mode on the left. Now you can also see you could do a horizontal or a vertical mirror mode. Now you guys know mirror mode. It's sort of like symmetry, right? Oh man, how great is this? If you want to design something really fast, if you're doing a straight on view of a face, which is what our big demo is going to be, how cool is this? I just have it set to have the opacity set probably about 50% or so, and I'm able to just go in and slowly darken things up and kind of build. I guess it's a Minotaur. I don't know. I'm just kind of freewheeling here. I don't really know. Don't really have a plan at this stage. I'm just kind of like showing the various techniques, but again, a fun way to build up something real time. So what do we get? A minute, and we've got a Minotaur already. So that's what's so great about this program. You don't get caught up in it. You don't get real fussy with it. Let's wipe that out. So the next thing I'm going to show you is that you can do weapons with it. Now I've done a whole post on this as well. It's on Muddy Colors, and it just basically, or in my YouTube page too, but it's basically just talking about how to build weapons really quick instead of using like photography or whatever. This is me just jamming out a sword really fast, real time once again. So you're talking about a minute, 2 minutes. I don't know how long this has been, but it's not long to get something pretty rad. And then you can take this weapon and you can actually move it into Photoshop or something, and you can, adjust it and scale it and paint on top of it and do more. But that's so easy in mirror mode to kind of build up a sword real quick. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go into the third thing I love to use about this program, which is right there, gradient. So basically, we're going to use the fill, but the fill is going to go down as a gradient. So that's super cool, right? Because now you can kind of build up forms because it's not just filling with a solid color anymore that's going to continue to overlap. So once again, just kind of building out this little face here. I'm just riffing, I'm just messing out of my head real quick. I don't know, maybe we'll make it a little elf or something like that. But you can see how controlled, you can see how slow I'm being with it as I'm kind of really thinking about what these shapes are going to do, how to pull this kind of stuff off. Sort of a caricature, you know. There we go, a nice little pointy ear. Why not? It's almost, the look is almost like if you took an airbrush and had a mask and then you sprayed the airbrush outside the mask. You can kind of see it's almost filling it like you have a mask and an airbrush is kind of cutting across stuff. Give him a little hairdo. Now I don't always have it on the gradient mode because sometimes I want it to be as opaque as possible because I want to make command decisions often. But if I'm feeling a little bit more noodly, then I can take my time. I can let it build up a little bit more. And of course, you can work in combinations of this. So a lot of times I'll do my early stuff with, you know, opaque silhouettes, and then I will later switch off to the gradient to kind of smooth things over a little bit. You know, you have to think ahead kind of like, because, you know, the moment your tool overlaps, you'll erase whatever was done there before you let it go. So you kind of gotta plan. You'll get used to it. You keep fiddling with it a little bit and you'll get the feel for it. But sometimes you actually cover something up, but don't lift up the tool and then back up around what you don't want to get covered. And that's one way to kind of build out some interesting shapes and stuff with sort of preserving what was going on inside. Cool. All right. So we're going to put a little smoke on that dude. And, you know, that's about it for this. We'll do, I mean, I get carried away. This is the thing. And this is the beauty of the Alchemy. You know, I thought I was going to do this for 2 seconds. Obviously, I went a little crazier on this one because that's how it kind of makes you feel. You just start seeing stuff. You got to start doing stuff. And then you have something to react to. So you just keep making marks. And the next thing you know, you're like an hour into Alchemy and some pretty cool stuff can happen as a result. And it's working with shape here, you know. I'm not actually drawing anything at this point. You're not seeing a traditional line, which I know a lot of guys, I mean, a lot of times for me, you'll see me do lots of like really intricate drawing. And this is more like shape. I think more like a sculptor when I'm in this program. And I got to tell you, I'll do a lot of my preliminary work, well, in Alchemy. Also in Infinite Painter, there's sort of a shape tool that lets you do this stuff too. So if you're on a mobile device, Infinite Painter's my go-to for this kind of stuff because it lets me do all this kind of thing as well. All right, Scott, come on, let's get on to the main demo. Sometimes I can't help myself. What are we going to do? All right, finally we're going to clear this thing out. And then we're going to save it. That's the other thing. You can save this. Used to be you could just export it, but this web version has a little save. So you just can hit PNG or the SVG, and it'll just save to your desktop or wherever you want to put it. And then you can use the file outside and take it into Photoshop. All right, let's get into the real demo tonight, which is this pumpkin queen, I'm calling her. Now, I'm using the full shape tool at full opacity and full black. Now I'm reducing that opacity to 50%, and I'm kind of working up some depth. I thought that'd be cool. Let's put a face in here. Just building some features really quick, kind of see how this would go together. It's sort of looking like a queen at this point. I thought that's kind of neat. I like the crown. I like the heaviness of the crown. But all of this is being done with the shape set to different levels of opacity, right? So as I keep building it up and doing layers upon layers, it gets lighter and lighter, lighter if I'm using the light stuff. The reverse happens if I'm using the dark stuff. I thought it started to look like almost like she could have no neck and almost be like a plant where she's coming out of these sort of things. And now it's time to get serious. I'm like, let's go ahead and dig in and do some more decent wings, get some serious feathers going on. Pure silhouette pretty much on those. And then I've got, well, let's go ahead and do in the background too. It's almost like she's got multiple wings that are kind of going back in space. Now understand, none of this was planned. There's no pre-sketch for this. This is the beauty of the program, is that it lets you just kind of whip through it, especially in mirror mode. Now I thought, okay, let's go ahead and just draw, using the line version of it, draw some more stalkish or leaf-looking forms that kind of wrap over. And then I go back to that fill tool and I'm filling in those shapes. Now you can take this to a pretty high level, as you will see, but generally speaking, I'll take this to a certain level and I'll get into Photoshop where I can take even more time with it. But we're going to do this all in Alchemy. I wanted to see just how far I could push it. Using the gradient tool now to kind of do some of those feathers. It's just so nice that you don't have to paint it on both sides. I gotta love a mirror mode, man, because it just saves you so much time. You look to the right and you're like, oh yeah, it's already done over there. Sweet. All right, it was time to take this face a little bit more serious and build it up. This time we're definitely just using it like a 16 opacity on that. You saw that? So it was pretty light. I'm just building up the forms. There's no zoom on this, or at least I didn't see one. Maybe there is now, but you can't just click and zoom and make it bigger. So whatever size it is on your screen is the size you're going to be working at. I'm finding those little accent marks. Then I started thinking at this point, let's get a little bit more Halloween. And I started thinking about a pumpkin theme for her. But you know, I'm just adding more details, more shapes. Think about how much of it is silhouette. In fact, almost every move I make, every design, I start with a silhouette and then I go a little bit lighter or a little bit darker within that silhouette. But the silhouette sort of dictates it. Then I kind of did some more vine stuff underneath there. I said, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Sort of ornate. And then I started doing a pumpkin. And I'm like, let's make her the pumpkin queen. I like it. It's Halloween. Why not? Just kind of like evolving the shapes. Even did some kind of stripy or almost like pumpkin shapes on the round part on the top of her head. As we're building it up a little bit. A few more accents down on the eyelashes there. A few more little jewels or something down around the collar line. Finding the forms, man. That's what we're doing. You know, I'm squinting at it a lot. I'm seeing like, oh, wait, I need to add a little bit more material here. Oh, let's bring up the highlights right around the clavicle, for instance. Cool. So now this next part was I want to do some more pumpkins. If we're going to make it the pumpkin queen, she should be the pumpkin queen. So I got on the line tool, and this is me sketching. Now remember, I haven't set to 16 opacity because there's no pressure sensitivity. So if I wanted to do some light sketching first, I just drop the opacity down so it's very light. Cutting out the negative space around those hands and building her up there. Just going in, making those accents, making the shadows where I think they might fall. I wanted to just get those pumpkins up to the level of her face a little bit more. So we have sort of a triangle going. Casting some shadows. A few more highlights on the hands. Done with that shape tool. You can watch the top. You can see how much the opacity keeps changing for you. Some rim lighting almost around the outer edges, just to give it a little bit more snap, a little lightness on the leaves. And now it was time to turn off symmetry for the first time because I wanted the jack-o'-lanterns to have different expressions, right? So I just flipped it off real quick. And so now I can work on them independently. One's happy, one's sad, why not? Different stems on them. So let's light them up. Why not? You have a full range of colors on here. I tend to work on it in black and white mostly, or use an accent color like this real quick. A little darker in the center of the face. And then we're going to just jazz up the fire inside a little bit more, put a little bit more fire on the one on her helmet or crown. And finally, my friends, we're just going to do a couple of nice little highlights in the face. I found these marks to be very hard to make, even with my stylus on my Cintiq, because it almost like it wanted me to make a big mark. And if you're trying to make a little tiny mark, man, I had to be very delicate with that stuff. And there you go, guys. That's our demo for this month. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a free program. It's literally on the website. You can just use it on the website. That's super cool. So I hope all of you check it out and start jamming and making your own stuff like this. Total elapsed time on this was almost exactly 2 hours. So I did this entire piece in about 2 hours. So that kind of shows you how rapidly you can move through stuff. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this month. Happy Halloween to everybody. Take care.